Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of my Megapark. In this episode there are several things I want to tackle. There's a few areas we still have to fill in. I want to build a ride here. There's some underwater plants that I want to add. And maybe also some underwater creatures. And I want to completely redo the buildings in this area. Because frankly, I don't really like them. They've been here for many episodes, but I think they're a bit too brown, too dark. I think we have to replace them with something that looks a little bit more cheerful. Also this hotel, there's no reason for this hotel to be here anymore since we have a huge hotel over here. So I'm going to repurpose this building into something else. Anyway, I'm first going to add a new ride. Now this area, I think it's perfect for one of those disco rides. It's basically just a small simple coaster track with a spinning platform on top of it. And these are usually recreated in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 with a roto drop, let's call it a car. But yeah, I'm going to first make a ride like that here. Alright, now, just like all the other cars you can select if you have the cheat enabled for enabling all vehicles to be used, you can also just put a roto drop car on top of your roller coaster. Now it won't actually rotate while it's on the coaster, but I think it looks convincing enough as a car for the disco. Now another thing that it won't do, it won't go sloped. It will just always stay straight up because this car doesn't have any sprites for diagonals, because a rotor drop normally is just a vertical tower ride. But yeah, I think this is as good as you will get it in Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 without using any custom vehicles. Alright, I think this looks really cool. I think it's a nice way to fill up this space. Now I will just add some more palm trees here, and then I think this area here is also done. Okay, I've never really liked this monorail building. Its shape is, I think, it's a little bit too simple. So I'm just going to try and make it look a little bit nicer by just adding some towers here on the corners. Alright, it's a simple addition, but I think it really helps make the shape of this building much more interesting. Okay, then there's the next thing. This will probably take quite a big part of my episode. But yeah, like I said, I'm not really happy with these buildings. So I will remove them and build something else in their place. Now, I will keep a building here for park info, but I also kind of want to have an observation tower in the park, which we don't have yet. Now, it would have to be really high in order for people to see everything in the park, because it's huge. But yeah, I really don't like making them too high, because I think it looks awkward. So yeah, I'll just limit the height to something that still looks good. Alright, we have a bit of space here to work with. Now, I'm going to keep the pool here, and I think I will just build a small mansion here for the park owner. And for this building, I still want to have park info. And the toilets, I'm also going to keep them here. And on top, I'm going to make the observation tower I mentioned earlier. Okay, that's the park info building done. Yeah, I tried to make the building look nice. The middle building no longer has a purpose, really, except that the queue for the observation tower is in it. Here's the building with the toilets, which I kept from the original building, and on top of course is the observation tower. And here for the park info building, I used this New York roof. I don't often use it, but I also used it for the mansion that we built here earlier. I kind of like this this building. It's a nice way to add a roof to a building. Okay, now of course we still have this building. What I will do here is I will just make a sort of a mansion for the park owner. Alright, I think this is a mention worthy for the owner of this park. I made a helipad on top because a manager of this park would need a helicopter to be able to view everything in the park because it's so huge. But yeah, I definitely had fun building this. Okay, there's one last thing that I want to do in this episode, and that's add tons of underwater plants and maybe some rocks. This is gonna take a while. I already put some treasure chests here, but anyway, to be able to build stuff underwater, what you have to do is place them by holding shift, and then with tile inspector you have to put them below surface, or else the water surface above it will start glitching at some point. So yeah, that's definitely something you'll want to avoid. Anyway, I'm just gonna add tons of these around the island, and I'll fast forward this a lot. Alright, I'm already getting bored of making plants underwater, so I'm gonna stop doing that for now, and I'll just continue doing that in my spare time off video. It's probably also not very interesting to watch. Okay, one thing I still want to do is add some life underwater, so I'm just going to add a shark or two that just will just swim across the map. Now, when you are making fish like the conga eel or the shark, they're trains from the expansions, and when you place them when you make a track for them, you'll usually want to make sure that you use lots of S-bands and curves in the track, because that's usually the path fish take when they swim. They fling their tail from left to right, and that's what propels them forward. And yeah, you will see that in the path that they swim. So just to make it more convincing, really try to put many S-bands. Okay, the ride is now completed and Shark should pop out. There he is. So yeah, I think these great white shark trains actually look quite convincing. Let's see if I can make the train a little bit shorter. There we go, that already looks better. Now what I'm going to do with this ride, the chainlift speed is quite high. I want the track to be invisible, so I'll change it to a crooked house. Normally I change rides to a lift because it gets better stats, but this ride doesn't have to be ridden by any guests. So yeah, I can just make it any ride type. I choose the crooked house because it never breaks down. So yeah, I don't want this ride to break down. I also don't want any mechanics to be occupied with this ride, so I'll just set the inspection interval to never, so it also, since it's not really reachable by any mechanics, it's better if they also don't try to go there for inspections. Alright, that will be enough building for this episode. So I changed these buildings. They're more fresh color now. We have this information building with toilets and the observation tower for the park. I turned this hotel into a mansion for the park owner, even with a private helipad. I made this disco ride here in this space that was previously unused. And in the end I added some water plants, but I quickly got bored of that, and then I added some of these sharks instead. So yeah, I think it will be fun to, when you're viewing the park, just to see some of these sharks pop up. Anyway, I think for the end of this video it will be fun to follow this disco ride through one of its circuits. Alright, I hope you enjoyed watching me build, and I'll see you again in the next episode. See you later.